Welcome back to the 21 Convention 2018 of Orlando, Florida, second day, first speaker of the day. This next speaker is retired Navy, also known as the fourth R of the Manosphere. He is consistently known as the best dressed man of the Red Man group, and he's a returning speaker to the 21 Convention. But above all, I got it from him himself actually. He is the Charlton Heston of Married Red Pill. Without further ado, please help me welcome Rian Stone.
That was clever. Dominance hierarchies. Stand up straight, eyes forward, shoulders back. Study hard. Don't go to university, but if you do, go into STEM. Don't want to work a 9 to 5 making money for other people. Be a digital nomad. Men should be men and not cucks. Women should be women, not thoughts. You need to stop doing the hedonism thing because the West is falling. You need to save it from feminism. Man up. Be a real man. No, not like that. So you got all this high-level, conflicting advice from the nosebleed sections, and then you think, how am I going to apply this in my actual life? Well, I met this girl. Yeah, but thoughts are bad. Then again, all girls are like that. Yeah, but this one's not like the other girls. She wants me to be more vulnerable. But girls don't get attracted to vulnerable men. Then again, I don't want to just bottle it up. Mental health. But she does want to open up the relationship. Yeah, she wants to move in. But the hypergamy, so she'll cheat. Then again, she's not yours, but it's just your turn. She wants to get married. But divorce is bad. Then again, leadership, right? But divorce, rape, and half my shit. She wants to have a family. But they're her kids, not mine. Child support is bad. But then again, just be a real man. Follow that up with blame cultural Marxism. Some blue hair having, pink pussy hat wearing, health at any sizing, feminist preaching from the church of diversity is our strength. And all the while, you realize that the problem is your complete disregard of any sexual strategy over the last 2,000 years. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Join a Proud Boys rally, do some knuckle push-ups in a cold shower, take back civilization for the white race, deuce voot. Does it sound like I'm making fun of it? Kinda am. Yeah, women are children, and women are the narcissistic master of the universe that's destroying everything around us. So 6 months ago, I had no idea what to tell you guys. I pinged some ideas off some of the other guys in this red pill space. The advice they gave me was to give them the talk that they need, not the one they want. Not good at pep talks. I'm not here to give you any Anthony Robbins, The Power of the Secret of Now, look at my bookshelves and Lamborghinis crap. Who writes this shit? I don't know. What speech do you need? I don't know. I just know what speech I would like if I was sitting there, like you are, listening to this guy up here running his mouth. So you came here to listen. Maybe it's the small town farm boy in me. Maybe it's the kid whose parents owned a logging camp. Maybe it's the Canadian sailor, eh? But I do treat that with some reverence. So you've given me 60 minutes of your full, undivided attention. And I'm going to do my best to have you leave here with something you can use. And more importantly, I'm going to try and get you to leave here with something you may not have heard before. I'm going to talk about lifting, fear, anxiety, making your biology work for you. I'm going to talk about All the bullshit we do makes us feel like a man without actually having to earn it. I'm going to talk about the 2 reasons we do things. And I'm going to end this off with a little bit of a talk on narcissism. Why we have too much of it, too little of it. So I have no illusions. I know I can't tell you guys to go do something and expect you to go do it. At least one of you guys is going to leave this convention, grab the arm of some whatever thought leader you can find and ask inane questions like, are these cargo shorts too beta? They're bad, not beta. Should I exfoliate or is that too gay? You should, and it is. This girl coming over to my house, she's only wearing a trench coat. Is she into me? Maybe. Do body weight push-ups count as lifting weights? No. Some of you will take everything here, tweak it to fit whatever your life plan is, carve out some extra work, get shit done, and have a success story. Some of you are going to go back to your hotel, doing knuckle push-ups in the shower, blasting Mark Manson affirmations in the background. Too many guys focus on these little marginal issues, and they forget about the 80-20 rule. And that 20% of effort is going to get you 80% of your results. Are the basics just too simple? No secret. I'm just putting in consistent levels of work over days, over weeks, over months, over years. It's not empowering. To empower means somebody else has to give you power. Nobody gives it to you. You have to take it on your own. And the thing is, you don't know you're there or making any progress until you're almost finished. And there's no guarantee it's going to work, which is why most guys don't try. Jordan Peterson right now is filling up auditoriums, telling people to stand up straight, slay the dragon, clean your room, wash your dick. I guess the basics just aren't that basic anymore. So, back to this. First step is the gym. It's working out. You don't got to lift to look like Adonis. You don't got to lift to be strong like Magnus von Magnus. You don't have to be Instagram ready. You should be able, though, to fill out a shirt, to be clothes on good looking, if not naked good looking. It's a foundation. It's not a paint job. I used to think it was obvious. And that was before Rollo had the great idea during the... Is he here? Probably somewhere. There he is, still working on it. Hey, Rollo. He had the great idea of letting guests come on to the Red Man Group, that podcast we do, and ask their questions live. Now, I don't want to pick on the guy, because A, he's here. And B, it's kind of an amalgamation of like a couple hundred guys I've seen over the years. I'm going to call him Bicycle Man. No names. So he's asking, how can I maximize my sexual strategy? I just finished my engineering degree. I'm going to work on the oil rigs. And I asked, does he work out? Put a pin in that for a second. It's something I've kind of gotten a bit cynical over the years. I don't think a lot of guys want to win. I think a lot of guys want to hope, to cope, to kind of shift that transfer of ownership onto some random guys on the internet. Anyways, so I asked if he worked out. You got the sob story. Yeah, well, I kind of, sort of used to work out. I'm going to buy a bicycle. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Yeah, I don't have time to run day game on chicks all day, but I'm definitely going to have time to ride my bike on the oil rigs. The Bicycle Man phenomenon. So I know this is probably the last thing that Anthony wants me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you're not willing to work out 2-3 days a week, if you're not willing to fill out a shirt, empty out the shit locker, we're done here. I'll give you a ride home after this. Just give me a minute. I got to finish up. Run into a few guys actually here that I saw from last year, and there's one in particular. night and day difference. So maybe these glib, pithy comments I'm making have an effect. I don't know. It's good for you, though, wherever he is. She'll find me afterwards. So yes, looking good is important. Yes, being lean is important. Yes, having something better to do when your wife won't fuck you is definitely important. Not talking about, though. I'm talking about something a little more primal. Talk about fear. It's getting your body to work for you instead of against you. So you don't want to step on your own dick and analyze the footprint. Don't make me laugh. So there's this fear we have, and working out helps to mute that. You know, the fear of divorce, rape, the fear of approaching that girl, the fear of losing this, the fear of losing that. You're building up a tolerance towards the world. And one thing I've noticed out of all the successful people I've met, and which is not nearly enough, is that the more successful you are, the more of this tolerance you're going to need. A little story on me. About 6 years ago, I just moved to Montreal. I gained a fair bit of weight, 30, 40 pounds maybe. I was popping Ativan like it was candy, drinking every day. Sure, I was still charming and pleasant. None of those parlor tricks I'd learned from the mystery method were working anymore. She hold that thought. Weird thing about SSRIs, it's like an epidemic now. About half of the guys that I used to sail with, used to deploy with, they were loaded up on the things. We don't really talk about it in public. Puts a big target on your back. Big sign, do not fuck. Yeah, girls will give you this whole, oh, that's too bad. Exit stage left, go fuck Chad, tell you about it during the dinner date, rinse and repeat. I don't know, I'm glad we weren't given this shit as teenagers. They're fucked. Anyways, so it doesn't matter if it's the girl's a stranger, if it's a date, if it's a wife, it's a girlfriend. All girls are kind of hardwired to see a little bit of strength in a man, emotional, physical. It was weird too. We all deployed, we all worked like dogs, never needed it. But once we came home, everybody had their shore postings, their fancy teaching gigs. Relaxing. That's when everybody started getting loaded up on it. Sitting there complaining about their dependopotamus wives getting fatter. Every conversation went straight to bitching about it too. Oh, the wife done them wrong this. Stupid, shitty people. Stupid, shitty complaints about stupid, shitty situations. Anyways, back to the point. So when I was in the Navy, we used to run a 1 and 2 watch rotation. So for those that don't know, that means 5 hours on, 5 hours off, 7 hours on, 7 hours off. It's about 12 hours. Tack on a half hour on either side of either watch to shit shower, shave, get up, turn over your watch. Another hour on top of that for cleaning stations. If you've been keeping track, that's about 26 hours a day, and this is for 9 days a week, 13 months a year. Anyways, hyperbole aside, it just means we had about 4.5 hours of sleep, and that's all. If all you did was eat, work, and sleep, and it burns you out fast. So why am I up here talking about this Puritan work ethic crap? It's kind of painting a picture. Just bear with me a minute. So we were all stressed. We were all overworked. And then this little reserve space, this tiny little 7x7 room with weights, made it all go away. That little piece of heaven had a real unique smell to it, too. I remember it was like a mix of diesel, body odor, and then a faint whiff of whatever deep-fried shit was coming out of the galley. It's very unique. I don't know, I can't describe it, but it takes me back every time I think about it. So that sweet smell of diesel, that 30 minutes working out, that half of an hour skipping rope on the flight deck, that 3/4 of an hour where I'm running wind sprints on the non-skid, I would take that over the sleep that I desperately needed. It's not that I wanted it, kind of had to. If I didn't, I'd sit there just grinding my jaw and shivering like a chihuahua. I must have ran through a skipping rope every month. The non-skid just tore it up, cut the shit out of my legs. My shins hurt from doing wind sprints, 45-degree weather, and what's that in American? Like 110, 120? Who does weather conversions? All right, whatever. I remember if I would drop something, I'd actually have to take a moment. My legs hurt so much and consider oh, do I need that or it's gone forever. But picking up some iron and putting it back down again under control, it kind of made it all go away for a day. Tap into that. There's a reason that lifting is the number one tried and true 4 out of 5 doctors recommend or your money back, best way to take back your balls that there is. Yes, you'll have muscle. Yes, you'll start to look lean. Yes, girls will find you more attractive. It's not about that. You're muting that anxiety that kind of cripples your ability to take risks. You're muting that fear that gives you an excuse why you don't want to do this or do that. You're stressing your nerves to the point where you can't have an anxiety attack anymore. You're preparing yourself to handle the world. Now, if you don't think this stuff applies to you, catch yourself next time you're arguing with somebody who's giving you some very plain, simple, and really good advice. Happens more than you think. Yeah, you're going to buy a bike tomorrow? Good job, champ. Anyways, right now, I don't know your personal story. Maybe you're not looking your best. Maybe you've been rejected 1,000 times. Maybe you've got 0 home runs, 0 at-bats. Maybe a girl fucked you over. I don't know or care what your Batman origin story is. Oh, yeah. Maybe you unironically use the word looks max. That one always gives me a chuckle. Sorry to any incels in the audience. Anyways, if you're mad, and if you have a genuine grievance, you probably should be. If you're mad, you've been given a gift. Use that. Go work out every time you get angry, every time you're not getting fucked. Stop shivering around there like a chihuahua. Stop promising yourself you're going to buy yourself a bike tomorrow. Stop telling everybody your Batman origin story as some kind of catharsis. Got to remember to add a disclaimer to this. So I've got 2 pet peeves, something that I've noticed in this space. First one, if you haven't figured out, the Batman origin story, testicular cancer thing. And the other thing is having to put a don't eat paint warning on this stuff. So up at this point, you're telling everybody what you've done. You're laying out your life story, so hopefully they can glean some value from it. And without fail, every time you do that, there's always going to be one guy in the audience, one hyper-literal spreadsheet monster, who's going to take this and take it as a fundamental, literal truth. He's going to take me talking about my stories of pain and intensity, and he's going to assume that the intensity is the pain. Stories about whipping myself with the shin. It's not that the pain was the gain here. Pain was there to just kind of let me know my limits. So don't take this story about intensity and its drawbacks and assume that the drawbacks are the intensity. I'm lazy if I can get away with it. If I can get through that deployment, no stress, have a solid 8 hours of sleep, I'd have done it. So this no pain, no gain crap is the reason that we ended up with guys taking cold showers so they could feel like a man. Cold showers and self-improvement. What is self-improvement? Self-improvement is masturbation. Self-improvement is taking a cold shower. Because samurai used to take cold showers in the river. They were men. Vikings took cold showers. They just took their women and they didn't have to kiss up to Steve, the VP of Finance. It's good. Feels like a man, right? Then you finish up, turn off the head, towel off, and go have the day you were going to have anyway. Much cope, such success. So what is self-improvement? Self-improvement is masturbation. Self-improvement is jerking off in your living room. Jerking off, kind of that simulation of sex. Your grandpa had sex, right? I mean, he took Grandma Ethel and he didn't have to kiss up to Steve, the VP of accounting. Feels good, doesn't it? Finish up, towel off, go back to the day you were going to have anyway. The only difference here is the lube. We just talked about juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? Such success. The problem with self-improvement is it offers just that little bit of a fix, just enough that you don't actually go after the real thing. It's a coping strategy It's a piss poor simulation, yada, yada, yada. People always focused on the improvement. Nobody's paying attention to the self. Now we're getting somewhere here. So what's self? Self? Self is your own best interests. Self is looking out for number one. Self is the actions you have to perform. Women are valued for who they are. Men are valued for what they do. Don't forget, you're to look out for number one. So what is improvement without self? Self-improvement, that's standing up straight, shoulders back, eyes forward. Still not getting sex. That's going into the belly of the whale, slaying the dragon, rescuing the princess. Sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle. It's going your own way. It's writing a manifesto. It's renting a van. Wait, what? No one cares how strong you are but you. Nobody. Nobody, never. Never, ever, in the history of ever, has anybody, as a girl, decided to or not to sleep with you because of your push-up count, because of how strong you are, or definitely not because of your shower temperature. Nobody cares if you're a good father. Fathers are a dime a dozen. At least half of the girls out there have replaced half of the fathers out there. Being good fathers or some kind of virtue, self-improvement to get towards there? How about good weekend dad, good ATM machine, good babysitter while she's out having sex with Steve, the VP of accounting? Plenty of moms couldn't even bother to find one or get one that they could reasonably keep. That sound like a society that values fatherhood to you? The only one that cares is you. Maybe the kid. Yeah, society should value it. Society should do a lot of things. Shit in one hand, wish in the other, see what fills up first. So let's get back to it. Let's towel off and then just have the day we were going to have anyway. So from anybody else's perspective, the only value you have is what you can offer. You just got to make sure that you get the highest price for that value. In some cases, what is self? If you're 20, self probably just wants to get paid and wants to get laid. Pink and green, love and money, cash and pussy. And getting it, it's much better lube than 30 seconds in the shower, I'll tell you that much. Sailors used to take cold showers all the time. We called them pusser showers because the old ships didn't heat water so good. We didn't take cold showers because we wanted to be a man. Submariners couldn't even do that because you can't drain water on the submarine. So they had to use wet naps. Actually, maybe that's the thing we should do. Wet nap your way to masculinity. Somebody write that shit down. I'll go halfers on an ebook with you. So what does self want? If self wants sex, you have to be more interesting on a Saturday night than a girl with a good book and her B.O.B. It's her battery-operated boyfriend. Self has to be charming. Self has to have some aesthetics to him. Self has to not put up with her shit. And then there's the improvement. That's the steps you have to take to get to that point. Chicks don't get wet over Steve, the VP of accounting. They get wet over guys like Goldman. I think he's probably here in the back, maybe. Sitting there, big fucking camera. Taking pictures in the park. Oh, it's so mysterious. Wonder what's under the hat. Surrounded by a couple girls taking photos. Well, what do they know about him that I don't know? So mysterious. Don't kid yourself. You're not some noble steed conquering over the West. You're a designer purse. You're a pair of funky shoes. You're a story the girl can beat it over her friends over the head with during brunch. Even when you settle down? Yeah, even when you settle down. Otherwise, you're just a glorified babysitter, a roommate, an ATM machine. You don't need to live in the house to be that. So you can listen to this kind of stuff. What's the kind of stuff you get laid? Listen to guys like Goldman, the other single guys here. Or you can listen to the ex-wife. All right, pick up the kids at 7. I'm going to go on a date with Steve. Don't wait up for me. Go take a cold shower. Be a real man. Go get him, bucko. Don't wait up for me. Also, on a side note, I know that sounds kind of crass. So if you want to be a good dad, like nobody's faulting you for it. God knows we need more of them. But the virtue of it has to kind of stand on its own. You can't be doing it and expect attaboys from society there. You can't be doing it as self-improvement. Child soldiers from Somalia have bounced back from worse. Probably half of the audience here is kid a divorce. We seem to muddle our way through it. So you're valuable, yes, but you're not essential. God, that got dark. All right, so summing up. Self's got to be interesting. Got to engage people's emotions, have a little bit of status. Have some pre-selection. You don't want to be boring, not like Steve, the VP of Finance. Conflict avoidant, codependent. Boring. You want to be interesting. The guy who says some ignorant shit just to get a rise out of the girl with a big goofy grin on your face. Not boring. Like even people who don't buy into pickup and think of it as snake oil, they kind of know some little lizard brain level about it. And you ask the most blue-haired having, health in any sizing, Huffington Post-ish feminist around here about pickup, what's the first thing they tell you about it? Negging. The idea that you're not kissing a girl's ass 24/7, everybody kind of knows that, yeah, it works. So be different. Stop giving away your time and your attention for free. I said before, you're worth what people are willing to pay, and you're worth what you value yourself as. So if you give it away for free, don't be surprised if people treat it just as much as you paid for it. So self involves having a little status, some emotions. The one thing self doesn't involve is logic. You can't talk your way into it. You can't negotiate attraction. If you've been doing all this stuff already, pick up the status, working out, the negotiations ended the instant you walked in that door, the instant you walked up to approach before you even opened your mouth. As soon as you open your mouth, all you're really doing is admitting you either have a subpar product or you're trying to polish that turd to a nice high shine. End of the day, still a turd. Does it sound transactional? Yeah, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, how in God's green earth can you expect anybody to respond to anything but value? You don't lift weights because it's self-improvement. You lift weights because you want to have an aesthetic body. You want to mute that fear response in you. Stop stepping on your own dick and analyzing the footprint, basically. You're building a work ethic on there, so that way you can handle when the wife comes home and the rugrats don't drive everybody else crazy. So you can stand in the middle of it and herd all those cats. Boys, I'm telling you, girls have the market cornered for neuroticism, and they don't need you muscling in on their market share. It's a battle you don't want, you can't win, and you're not going to enjoy it if you do. Again, so you've got yourself, you got the guy who wants sex and companionship, and you have your improvement, the steps you take to get to that space. The saying is as old as the manosphere. You can't get that girl, but you can get more girls. So you're not doing it for her, because the negotiations ended the second you turned off your cold water in the shower and toweled yourself off. An example, it's called master and slave morality. Francois de la Rochefort talked about it during the Continental Enlightenment. Nietzsche talked about it when he was developing psychology. Robert Greene when he was talking about his 48 Laws of Power. Venkatesh Rao when he was writing the Gervais Principle. What are we talking about here? It's mission focus. That what matters is what's in it for me, what's best for me above all other concerns. And if the attributes that help you with that are good, and the ones that you're forced to endure are not. So an example, being fit, being charming, not giving a fuck, having a little bit of outcome independence, strength, bit of an asshole, a charming asshole. Those are all good things. And if you're arguing that they're not, then you're kind of adopting the slave morality. Accept the things that you have to. Those are things like being nice, being conflict avoidant, not like being that asshole that Stacy slept with is complaining over the PSLs, that's pumpkin spice lattes if you guys don't know. Had my first one, not impressed. It's other things too. It's not wanting to get too big when you're working out. It's all these little things. You can wrap them up in all kinds of fancy wording. Dr. Phil can say it, and all his audience will clap and nod. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's such a nice man. These aren't things that are good for you. So your value is in what you can provide. Tingles, resources, whatever. Your job is to make sure that you're getting a premium for it. And I'm telling you, fellows, price it higher than you think. You can always walk it back down later. Another part is don't forget your walk-away point. It's better to take a loss than it is to take a pay cut. All right. Oh, this is the part where I talk about not eating paint. It's a nice little pep talk, isn't it? Used a bunch of manly cuss words. Whiskey, bacon. Cold fucking showers! Maybe you're rolling your eyes. I wouldn't blame you if you did. I kind of am too. Maybe you're a little pumped. Maybe after this you're going to get psyched up and go fearlessly walk up to some Florida girl, pick her up. Good on you. All I ask is that when you're doing your interactions, just keep it in the back of your head, the what's in it for me when you're doing all your little things, and have that kind of guide you. Be that lovable asshole. Be charming, considerate, aesthetic. And for all these steps you take to improve yourself, it's not always about doing the right thing. Well, correction. It's not always about doing what other people tell you is the right thing. So I'm going to tell you a story now. When I was teaching in Fleet School, one of the students of mine, we'll call him Frenchie. Frenchie was a good kid. He got picked up, about 5 guys. I guess they were at a party and some drugs were being passed around. So for those that don't know, it's extremely hard to get kicked out of the military. Going to jail for a serious crime and drugs are about the only 2 things you can do. You can't fuck up enough to get booted otherwise. And once we caught him and everybody else, I guess the one guy that got caught ratted out everybody else, and now all 5 of them are up there. So we gave him the same speech that we were all trained to give. Hey man, we know you fucked up. That's fine. Do your time. We got your back, and when you come back, we can get you back to work. It's that powerful little narrative of like the plow horse, the meritocracy. I mean, it is powerful because it convinces guys to basically go and die for somebody that they've never even met. So here's the part where Frenchie failed. And if I'm being honest, it's the part where I failed him. So they didn't know what he did, and we've never seen anything but good things from him. As far as we knew, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we told him, just admit what you did, take your punishment, and be on with it. What's in it for Frenchie there? If he wanted to be a good sailor and have a good career, and he was good, so he would have. Keep your mouth shut. It's the MP's jobs to investigate you. It's the JAG's jobs to investigate you. It's not your job to investigate you. Just keep your mouth shut. Sit there. Run through the punishment. Go back to work. Do your thing. Instead, he fessed up to everything. I guess he had been doing some drugs. Now, he was a really good kid. We had everybody from the commanding officer down to the junior instructor, which was me at the time, all vouching for him, sending memos down to Ottawa, offering different types of punishments instead of getting him the boot. Ottawa didn't care. Out. I remember I had to drive him down to cells. So I can't quite articulate what that place is like. It's like a miniature military prison. I mean, when you first get in there, they're yelling at you. They strip search you in front of 20, 30 people. Nobody lasts their first day without bursting into tears. It's kind of like a mix between Full Metal Jacket and a maximum security prison. So I remember I felt bad. I took the long way around to get him down there, had him out for a smoke, gave him a Red Bull, talked him through it. The teachers made sure somebody came down there to visit him every day, which is unheard of for these things. Doesn't matter. He's still out. But he did the right thing, very noble. On the flip side, and anybody who served in the CF will probably know who I'm talking about, but I'm telling you right now, this is definitely a fictional story, and this guy in no way exists. The least hated chief, or the least liked chief in the Navy. He got caught. I guess he was part of a drug ring dealing sometime in the early 90s, I think. He gave up the names of everybody else that was done. He got to keep his job. Everybody else got booted. Great. A couple years later, he ended up fucking a girl, one of his subordinates, in the junior ranked bathroom, and he threatened to kill the junior roundsman if he told anybody. I mean, these are all stories you're hearing secondhand, right? But if you know the guy, you can see it. So he was my first coxswain on my ship. Coxswain, if you guys don't know, that's like the highest rank you can get for an enlisted guy. He basically had a long, fulfilling career. Too long, too fulfilling. So the reason, and if I put Frenchie and the chief in front of you right now, you'd probably all hands down say Frenchie's a better guy. He's a real man. He's a man of character. He's a more virtuous guy. But at the end of the day, what did it matter? One of these guys got what they wanted and one of them didn't. So I'm not telling you you have to do some criminal things or throw your buddy under the bus. Just use an extreme example to illustrate a point that you got to look out for your own best interests above all. It's more than just about sex here. So we'll bring it back to the beginning, kind of sum this part up. Stop stepping on your own dick. Do that 20% of the effort that gets you 80% of the results, and then worry about the margins. And make looking out for yourself your number one priority. Luckily, most of you will probably never end up in a situation like the chief or like Frenchie, where you have to make a morally dubious choice. If so, just remember, those are the times that are going to kind of define you. And whatever choice you do make, just make sure you're being honest with yourself. Am I succeeding, or am I just jerking myself off in the shower? Am I acting noble to appease others, or am I acting in my own best interests? And knowing the reasons you're doing this thing is not as easy as you may think. So there's two reasons we do anything. There's the reason we know, and then there's the reason we don't. There's the reason we tell people, and there's the reason we don't. There's the reason that we're honest with, and the reason that we're not. Maybe the other person can't handle the real reason. Maybe we're hiding it from ourselves because we got big egos. Maybe we don't even know what the real reason is. We listen to guys talking about male virtue all the time. All these token rule sets, dedication, loyalty, friendship, kindness. Are we talking about men? Or are we talking about dogs? Guys desperate to signal their masculinity. They're picking things that they don't have to work for and pretending it makes them a man. These things are too basic to signal for man. There's what signal for person. Or Rusty, the golden retriever. I think Ivan and Swift were talking about before. The stuff they're mentioning is things you actually have to earn. I mean, it's not that they're not good. They're generally good if you do them in the right place at the right time to the right person. They're just not something that makes you masculine, and they're not a good reason. So the next story here is taken from a book called Freakonomics. I'm assuming most people here probably read it. It came out about 10 years ago. There used to be lead in paint. There used to be lead in gasoline. Lead was everywhere. And excessive lead exposure they found it led to impulsive behavior, violence, aggression. I think in the 80s, they ended up taking it out of paint and gasoline and that, and then the crime rate started dropping off. So my point here, if you asked one of those guys back then, why did you beat that guy to death? Why did you smack your ex-wife around? Why did you stab that guy in the neck? None of them are going to tell you it's because of excessive lead exposure as a child. They're just going to say, oh, that guy pissed me off. He disrespected me and he had to go and I just lost control. So there's two reasons. There's the reason we know, and then there's the reason we don't. Another example. So many guys unplugging, telling their stories every day, talking about their marriages of quiet desperation. There's a larger number of those than we care to admit, by the way. And they'll tell the same little story. Oh, everything's great. I earn good money with great household. Everything's taken care of. We just got one small problem. It's like small. It's insignificant. Doesn't really matter. It's that she hasn't fucked me in 5 years and she's repulsed by the touch of me. But other than that, we're great. You're fucking far from great. That's the furthest thing from great. That's like saying, I have a car and it's perfect except for I have no gas. And this poor bastard's issue, it's not sexual frustration. It's not that he's a plow horse being taken for granted by some Machiavellian, vindictive wife. In reality, she's having her own life of quiet frustration with him. Yeah, I wish I could say that all this issue was that women are evil and taking advantage of it, but they got their own problems too, and a lot of the times, taking it out on you is all they know how to do. Sorry. The problem is that the guy's conflict avoidant, generally unattractive, and the things that he does to provide value for the people around him are the things that they don't want. But hey, that kind of revelation could probably just crush a man. So instead, let's talk about toxic masculinity and how you should be doing more chores. You should get the dishes done out of it. So there's two reasons we do things. There's the reasons we're honest about and the reasons we're not. For me, back to the Montreal story, I was having horrible anxiety attacks. Popping Ativan like it was candy. I was drinking every day, probably 30 pounds heavier. And work let me go see a effeminate man with a PhD once a week. I could bitch about my problems too. Very nice. So was my cause of anxiety the excessive amount of serotonin in my system that required inhibitors? No. The problem was that I had built up a debt. I had believed in the meritocracy, same as Frenchie did. The best plow horse gets the best hay and the best stable. The thing is, when you believe something and experience tells you otherwise, it builds up a debt in your mind, and that kind of manifests. In this case, it manifested as anxiety. So I had my own moment with that, but unlike Frenchie, I was more like the chief and looked out for number one. So like I said, there's two reasons. If you ask anybody else what's the reason that members are having anxiety, they'll tell you the trials and tribulations of military life cause undue hardship and stress. Luckily enough, the benevolent organization is here to give you as many pills as you need and to talk to as many professionals as you want. Never mind that it doesn't work, as long as it looks like we're helping. Thanks, coach. And I'm seeing it with a bunch of my friends that are still in. I mean, that debt keeps growing, the anxiety keeps building, the pills keep coming, the professionals keep talking, and eventually you need this nice balancing point between coping and anxiety. If I was still there, I probably wouldn't have gotten better. I would have just been a zombie. That jaded cop just sitting there waiting for the pension, watching the clock. I still have friends that are stuck there, like I said. They're waiting for a long deployment again so they can kind of live their little fantasy of having a life on their own terms, a second life away from home. Then they towel off and get back to work. So for me, I finally knew both the reasons why I hated my job, why I was having this anxiety, why my relationship was crumbling. And now that I knew, I could take steps, and I built a strategy to go around it. So I had devoured a lot. Dr. Glover, Rational Male, Dalrock, Royce, Roosh, Dr. Cindy Miston, David Buss or Boos? Buss? Yeah, Dr. David Buss, James Franco. List goes on and on and on. No, not the actor. Practical Female Psychology. It's a good book. You guys should read it. So every time I was having an anxiety attack, I would go work out, crush the nerves to the point where I would just stop having anxiety. Every time the wife wouldn't fuck me, I'd go to the gym, have something better to do. So I had some strategies around it. So once I was able to deal with that, once I was able to have something better to do if things weren't going my way, then I could deal with the source of it. So I started asking myself in life, what's in it for me? Instead of asking, what can I do for you? So I made a plan to improve out of that self. So yada, yada, yada. A couple risks later, a couple chances taken, here we are. Sought some advice from a bunch of other red pillars. I think Hunter, who joined around the same time I did. Bogey D6, UEM McGill, some of the other moderators from the Red Pill, Sorcerer, King, Whisper. It's like 3-4 dozen names. I can't remember them, rattle them all off now, but anyways, this stuff's good. So by talking to other guys, you're getting 10,000 stories from 10,000 different sources, from 10,000 of the similar stories, and you're kind of learning the underlying reasons why things are happening the way they're happening. You take 300,000 men on the Red Pill, 20,000 men on the Married Red Pill, God knows how many else on blogs and that, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 speakers here tonight, this week. Add that all together, turn it up, voila, you got your sexual strategy, you can have a success story. There's no success guarantee it's going to work either. Like, there's no success. There's no guarantees in life. Bubble-wrapped, safe life does not exist. But you'll learn how to dust yourself off and hit it again from a different angle when you fail. We don't get campaigns about being empowered. Girls do. What's the source of their empowerment? I don't know. Girl power. There's no guy power. You just got to pick yourself up and try it again. So had you asked me back in, 2014, what the reasons were that I was so angry then, I would have probably given you a big sob story about who'd done me wrong and why, what I was owed. That wasn't the real reason. The real reason is I was just letting life happen to me as opposed to taking charge in life, having a little bit more of a risk-tolerant attitude towards it, and actually searching for my own best interests instead of just helping out everybody else around me. So we do things for two reasons. There's the reasons we tell everybody, and then the reasons we don't. Did that girl cheat on you because you didn't do enough chore play? No. The real answer is you're just not as exciting as Steve, the VP of Finance, was. Are you not able to get laid because girls only like assholes? No, the answer is you're conflict avoidant. Are you not getting married because marriage laws are skewed and you'll lose your empire? No, it's probably because watching your dad get raked over the coals during your divorce really turned you off the thing. Anyways, once you start looking at the real reasons, the underlying reasons for all the things that happen, that's when you can start carving out some successes and some failures out of life. So let's take Guy. Let's say Guy, he stays married to his dependopotamus wife. He sticks it out, suffers his life of quiet desperation because he wants to be a good role model of what a family's like for his kids. Is that really a success story? If he gets some guy whose wife constantly nags him, he has to go out on expensive dinners and buy her all this crap to get his once-a-year annual birthday blowjob. Is that a success story? What about Chad? Let's say he divorces his wife. It takes him a couple years, and the kids have to get a bit older when he can finally start to reconnect with them and be the good dad then, so he's missed out on that 5 to 13-year-olds. Is that really a failure? Let's say Chad otherwise gotten himself together, a attractive, high-valuable male. Let's say his wife still won't fuck him. He goes out and gets some strange discreetly, keeps the family together, puts on the nice family face, but he gets his needs met elsewhere. Is he really a failure? Both these guys, same situation, same rule sets. The only difference is one of them is understanding the reasons for things and he can work around it, and the other one is just letting life happen to him. You ain't shit. That's okay. Field reports and narcissism. I think every guy should be writing a field report on your life. If you're not going to do it on a blog, on a subreddit, write it on a little journal by your nightstand. I said journal. Girls have diaries, guys have journals, logs. One of the things I did, and I've been giving some jabs at Jordan Peterson tonight, sure, but he was bang on one thing. The way you write reflects the way you think, and the way you think reflects the way you act. So by writing things down, you're able to better articulate your life and understand what's going on. I mean, I've yet to see anybody who has a good measure of success in their life without leaving themselves a few notes along the way. One of the first things you'll notice, too, is about your language. I think a guy is defined by his testicles. I'm saying that because as soon as a girl takes your balls away, the language in your stories change. Instead of being I wanted to go here, I wanted to get laid, I wanted to drink, no, I don't want to get you a glass of water. It changes from that to she. She wouldn't like that. She doesn't want me to go out tonight, guys. Sorry. She doesn't want to get laid. She decides I need to do more chore play. If you get guys here to write down their latest frustration in their life, I can probably tell you who has the frame in their relationship in 2 paragraphs of text. What you write tells you more about yourself than the story you tell yourself to get to sleep. By what you write, I can tell whose frame you're in. You can tell whose frame you're in. You can tell what details the person considers important. You can tell the details the person's omitting because maybe they're too ego invested to admit something to themselves. All this stuff. They can tell you everything about yourself, what you're rationalizing, what you're bullshitting yourself with. all in just a couple words. Like I said, how you write reflects how you think, and how you think reflects how you act. When every word you have on paper is a she statement, that means you're not living within your own story. You're living within somebody else's story, a minor character, a set piece. You're a prop for somebody else. If you can't articulate a situation and write into it how it affects you and what you should do around it, that means you're not treating yourself as your own masculine center. It makes you unattractive, by the way. Small aside here on narcissism. So for those that don't know, there's those 3 dark triad personality traits: psychopathy, Machiavellianism, narcissism. Supposedly narcissism is the only genuinely attractive one out of the bunch, and I couldn't figure out why for the longest time. Dr. Smith's over there, and I'm like, he's got a PhD, so he either already knows the answer or he's already shaking his head. So why is this narcissism, which is supposedly an attractive quality, such an unattractive quality in so many people? Why are the incels calling guys assholes for getting the girls they couldn't? Why is the nice guy a subtle way of calling somebody a loser? Best description I have is narcissism is that you're the center of your own story, you're the main character of your one-act play, and everything else around you is a set piece or a minor character that feeds into you. Your life is your singular concern, and your benefit is your singular concern. If that sounds a lot like Frame, then you got it. Frame is narcissism, and narcissism itself is a masculine quality. When you talk about it in a clinical sense, you got narcissistic personality disorder. So what is that? That's taking man and amping it up to 11. If you go to some blue-haired Tumblr blog and you look up what toxic masculinity is, they'll probably use the same thing, same descriptions. Pathological impulsivity, pathological self-centered, pathologically self-important, pathological vanity, pathological expectations of others to serve you. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, it probably lines up pathological word for pathological word. And you take this all together, it's a great explanation of alpha behaviors. There's kind of a Goldilocks zone. If you take too much, you kind of get in that Elliot Rodgers space. It's not a good place to be. You write a manifesto, rent a van. I think you guys know this all too well. From what I understand, a damn kid ended up doing this in Florida just recently. Ended up taking out a lot of people with him. Very tragic. So that's what happens when you get too much. But then you can get too little. And then you end up as a plow horse, a codependent. You end up just being a set piece for somebody else's life. And if you let somebody else live your life for you, it's never going to be in your own best interests. So yeah, it turns out that every other one of those MGTOWs, every one of those incels, every one of the juice isn't worth the squeeze types that talk about how women have done them wrong, they're all kind of closet narcissists. Not attractive ones, though. So again, I tried to figure out what makes it attractive. And the best answer I could come up with is that it's a force amplifier. So if you're not attractive, you're going to have narcissism, you're not going to be attractive. But if you're a little bit attractive, a little bit of healthy narcissism is going to make you very attractive. Be attractive, don't be unattractive. 2 rules as old as the manosphere. Anyway, so back to me. When I hit my moment, something changed in me. Over those months, there was this build-up, a lot of anxieties, a lot of tension, build-up, and then done. It all kind of went away. Now, for those of you guys here who have your red-pilled moments, and I'm assuming being here, you've all had them, you'll kind of hit that nice, quiet peak moment where you realize nobody else is going to wipe your ass every day but you. And you got to start treating that guy better. You got to start getting inside of that guy's head. Write the script for him. In my old story below, where I had my Frenchie moment, investigation, all that crap, my Batman origin story, it was a shitty life script, but it was a story I knew the ending to. A lot of us will accept these shitty stories just because we know them, instead of writing our own with an ending that we don't know what it exists with yet, even if it's a happier one. We're coming up on the end, that's good. Anyways, the good news is the fact that you're all here means you're a little bit of a narcissist. I mean, why else would anybody be sitting up here talking about sexual strategy and devoting this much effort to talking about chicks and what's in it for me if it wasn't for narcissism? So we'll sum it up here. Working out, lifting, getting rid of fear, impulsivity. Stop doing bullshit that makes you feel like a man and start doing shit that actually advances your best interest as a man. Stop taking cold showers. Stop taking self-improvement. Start improving yourself. Get a little bit of narcissism. Write down some field reports. And if I have some time left, I guess we'll do some questions now. Thank you for your time. All right, I think we do the lineups, and then you got any questions? I think I was pretty thorough, so I'm hoping there wasn't any, but we'll see what happens. I don't need this anymore.
Great talk, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
So, like, as a married guy, if you had to think of, and I'm not just using your wife example, just like in a general
Not use her,
sense.
it's fine, she doesn't mind.
Okay, so if you had to think of a ratio of, like, you know, her acting like an overgrown child or shit testing, like, would you say it's like 30%, like 30-70, like 70% she's behaving, 30%, 60-40, 50-50, like how would you?
Yeah, I'm not a spreadsheet man. I don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Just deal with it as it comes. Like, there's some proactive strategies you can use, but generally, if you start trying to break it down with, well, it's Tuesday on the 5th and the moon's on the half waning, and so this time she's going to give me a shit, then you just end up getting lost in your own head and you get fucking it up.
Okay.
Just play it as it comes. If she starts acting like an overgrown child, just treat her like an overgrown child.
Is it mostly like cyclical, like with her cycle? Like, if you could master the cycle, has that added value? Like, you can know, like, the no-fly zone times, like, kind of stay away from her?
Oh, I wouldn't say no-fly zone. See, that's the thing. It's not no-fly zone. Generally, and Rolo can correct me on this because he kind of did the speech on it, but the idea is when they're ovulating, they kind of like more aggressive alpha behaviors, and then when they're on the other end of the cycle, they kind of like more comfort beta behaviors. A lot of guys, we suggest they do it for a little bit. You get like one of those tracker apps, and then you kind of track a girl over her cycle. It's not a long-term thing. It's just kind of, because guys don't really believe you when you say girls act differently at different times in the month. But then once they kind of go through it and they have that spreadsheet where they're like, oh, 20% of the time she's like this. Then ditch it. You kind of got the idea, and just kind of, I mean, it's not hard to count to 30 once, like a month, is it?
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, like right now, I don't know. So you'll get cranky. I know that means I got about 2 more days before the Shark Week or Aunt Flo comes over, and she kind of knows it too, so we know when the fights are coming. It's just theater. I can't believe you guys paid me for this. I have done my best not to swear so much in front of you guys. I don't want us to get, I guess it's not demonetized. It's on Anthony's own personal channel. All right, we're good, so I can swear. So, sorry, was there another question? There we go.
You mentioned that it's unattractive to live a conflict-free life.
Yeah.
And so can you expand upon what that would look like to be maybe the opposite or some version of having more conflict?
It all depends on your life. I mean, conflict isn't just about fighting battles, doing wars. Like, if you take Swift's speech and Ivan's speech, yes, they're talking about it in like a more military sense, but you can apply that stuff everyday life, dealing with Steve, the VP of Finance. If your boss is shitting on you because maybe you fucked up, not backing down, lowering your eye, that kind of thing. Maybe your wife just shitting on you because you didn't do the dishes, when the issue is really just she's in a frustrated mood and she just wanted a reason to pick at you. Not backing down for. Now, I'm not saying you sit there and start mouthing off like a rabid dog, like, you can't talk to me that way. The fuck do you think you are? You're just not afraid of it. Especially a girl, like a little 120-pound, 5'2" girl, and have her push me around? No. I'll put you in a garbage can, lady. Who are you talking to? I have done that once. I did pick her up, put her in a garbage can. It was kind of funny. She was pissed, but she got over it. But you do it real gentle. It was an empty one. It's not like it was trash in there. But yeah, does that kind of answer? A little bit of conflict, and you have some fun with it, because what else are you going to do? Oh.
You talked about anxiety. What one thing would you attribute, or can you remember, that helped you most with your anxiety?
100% lifting. Like I'm at the point now, I got a few more injuries I didn't really talk about. My lower back's kind of fucked. I have to get like this S belt or something, re-engage some things. But yeah, the pain parts, that's kind of what tapped into it. That, and I got mad, but in a focused way. I remember that because then I just didn't really care about, because when I'll use an example. Let's say you're under an investigation and they'll always try and scare you with, oh, you got jail time this, you're going to be blacklisted from all kinds of work. I'm sure Jack could probably tell this story way better than me. He's gone through a lot harder than I have, so. But there's all these like what ifs, what if could happen. And then once you get that level of anger where you're just kind of like, you know what, fuck it. And then you just do that because it's going to come whether you want it to or not. And so I found the best strategy is to have that don't give a fuck attitude. Getting that workout to the point where you're not stepping on your own dick with anxiety and you just kind of plow through. And whichever way it plays out, that's exactly the way you wanted it. That's where you got to kind of sell yourself on yourself. And that tags into the narcissism bit. Learned that from my shipwife buddy, actually. Chris, he's an awesome guy. That's what he said. Whatever happened to me is exactly what I wanted, dude. Yeah.
Ryan, how do you check in with yourself regularly to make sure that you're still focusing on the 20 of the 80-20 first?
On the which of the which now?
On the 20 out of that 80-20.
Oh, it's just consistent. Like it's effort. It's consistency. Do you pay attention to when you're breathing? No. I just know I work out 3 days a week. It's a schedule. The less you think about it, the more likely you are going to do it. I mean, and that's when you get into the Anthony Robbins habit stuff. You do it for 3 weeks, you stick into it. It's not like if you haven't been working out or if you ate Cheetos for 3 months, you're going to forget about it. Yeah, honestly, it's just not bullshitting yourself into it. Stand up straight. Shoulders back. Wash your dick. All right, I think they're going to cut off here in like the next 20 seconds, so I guess we'll have to end it up. Do I have time for a quick one, or maybe? No? All right. Who's got something? It's all you. Nobody? All right. Oh, perfect. All right, well, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Ryan.